Geez.
Hey Dave, good to see you. How are you today?
Not too bad yourself.
I'm doing well, Dave. Thank you. So thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity today to have you on this interview.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
So Dave, your debut album, Born for Metal, is on under work. So would you like to
Yes,
tell me about the work behind it and the production behind this upcoming album?
absolutely. Yeah. So it's the countdown has begun now, so we're very, very close to getting that all set up and all done up. So the big thing, of course, with Immortalizer was that as I started to work with Ralf Scheepers of Primal Fear, of course,
Mhm.
everything went to a whole different level, and he's been so instrumental in so many different things, and such a huge inspiration for me as a kid and as as an adult up to now, and especially, of course, working with him and having his support. And so when I started doing the singles, I my focus was on trying to get the singles done and the videos done, and then get some production on the album done on the side as well. And so it was a bit dicey, a bit tricky to try to do all the recordings myself, and then do the videos again myself, which I was new to that, at least on that scale. And so when I started, I went to Ralf for help with my vocals, and I felt that I wanted to push the boundaries of what I could do, and of course he was the the best person for it. And so with his help, and then of course segueing onto my singles, and then he got on board mixing and mastering, which of course he does an incredible job with that as well. And then with everything going so well, I started really hammering out the rest of the album, and then it's been a while in the making, but at the same time I'm quite proud of the work, and I'm excited for the release, and I think the response will be good. And of course, you should never overly hype it, but at the end of the day, like, it's still like it's a labor of love, and I've worked so hard to put my best into it. And it's been so amazing to also have Ralph's support there too, and encouragement. And so it's been a huge project, but also a super fun time. So
Fantastic. And
yeah.
how did this friendship and the work along with Rolf really happen? And how did you guys got to know each other and how this all happened?
Yeah, so Ralph, all on top of being one of the best metal singers of all time, also happens to teach vocals, and so and beyond, right? So with the RS Vocal Works that he does, that I decided that I'd reach out to him, and I'd see, I showed him the EP that I had released
Yes.
with Immortalizer prior to that, and we started to work together on my vocals, and he really expanded my ability to get to a different vocal range. And that was a big thing for me, where I'd been singing technically for like something in 20 some odd years, since I was a little kid. So I had a foundation, but not the polish that I was hoping for. And so when it came time to doing Immortalizer, I thought, I'd really love to improve on that, and to see what my limits are, push those limits and those boundaries. And so when we started doing our lessons and stuff, we kind of befriended each other, and it was such an honor for me to have his time and his help. And as we progressed on and on, like, my music became more like a focus, because we started to he started to mix and master the singles, which was again like a huge deal for me. I was, I was so blown away by that, and it still means so much to me, and it always will. I'll always owe Ralph so much. He's helped really, really bring things to the public eye for Immortalizer, and really kind of his support alone has been such a huge instrumental help in that. And so then as time progressed, we realized that we had a lot of we loved the same bands, and we were the friendship, I think, developed mainly as being very similar people. And we get along great, like, very, like, he's a super nice guy, so he's easy to get along with, of course. And of course, being one of my heroes every step of the way was a big deal. And I'll never forget the first time I was singing in front of him. And so it literally it felt like there was 100,000 people there, in terms of pressure, because here's one of my heroes that I got to sing to him. But it went super well. He's like I said, super nice. And then immediately I was like at ease, and it kind of went from there. But yeah, I gotta say he's a wicked dude, and I'm so grateful to know him and to have the privilege of his support and his help. So
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome. And
Yeah.
this Born for Metal album has some kind of concept or a theme behind it.
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of it spans kind of all over the place a little bit in terms of themes. Where initially the general idea was just to capture what I've always wanted to do with a metal album, and in with my past works, which was a lot of it was like kind of heavy rock, still metal, but there was a lot of work left to do. I was still developing my various skills, and when I went to do my solo project, there was more um, a little bit more pressure to polish every instrument, which is a bit tricky because normally as an artist, as a singer, you get to focus on vocals, or as a guitar player, you focus on guitar. And I decided to kind of cast the net a little bit too wide. And then drums, well, my drums were my foundation. Like I started off on drums when I was a kid, so that one was pretty easy. But when I decided to start playing guitar and doing vocals, I started realizing the segues between bass and guitar, and how they can be very different if you work it right. And you can also just have it there kind of as a bass line. It's like literally just following the melodies and doing it a little bit more simple. But I try to, each time with each instrument, I really try to capture what the picture in my mind of the song as I write it. Sometimes it happens just as I'm just writing a riff, and in my head, like suddenly I develop the whole picture, and I start to hear the orchestration of what the drums could do and what the bass will do and what the vocal line will be, and it all happens all at once, which can get overwhelming. But at the same time, it's so great because then I get down in the studio and I just hammer it all out, and then it often evolves as I work. And so I'll be doing a double, let's say like a double bass sort of thing, and then I'll realize I'm like, oh, you know what, instead I'm going to do a gallop on this one. And so it evolves like that, which is so fun. And of course, with again, like with Ralf, the I think one of the main things, and it's again why I'm so grateful to him for really inspiring me, like to go beyond. And I feel that Born for Metal is what it is because of Ralph's support and how much he inspired me to push my own limits and to go beyond what I could do, and to really try to get to such a professional level that it could be the best that I could possibly do. And I feel that we've done that with the album. And now, of course, with the final stages of mixing and mastering, I'm getting to hear a lot of Ralph's final masters, and it's just wild. What he can do behind the scenes in the studio is as impressive as what he can do on stage, and how he can say it's amazing. Like he's so multi-talented. So as I started to explore various themes, of course there's all kinds of crazy shit happening in the world, so that does kind of alter the theme a lot of the time. And so I felt that one kind of subtle but not so subtle theme of the album is really just the state of things. And I try to, like all artists, I feel that we're just really holding up a mirror to society and to the world, and just being like, kind of a reflection of the times and so on. And you see that throughout the 60s, and the hippie culture and all the music that came from that, and with the civil rights and all the different things that they were fighting against. And now things have gotten considerably out of control, and I feel that it's helpful in a way to have music that kind of reflects how people feel and how pissed off they can be. And so it's not just an attempt to make things worse, because unfortunately there's that whole side to it, and a lot of people just kind of exploit the misery, which I try not to do. It's really more is this really what we're content with? Are we gonna, settle with this as our lives now? And is this what the future is gonna look like? And so on. So there's some themes there. And of course, one of the big single for the album, "We Were Born for Metal," which also features Ralf,
Yeah.
and so he's doing some the choruses with me, and it's again, that was just a mind-blowing experience when he offered to do that. Like, it literally dream come true. So I'm very excited about that. And some amazing guys are working on the animated video for that as well. So there's going to be some real fun stuff with that. And so "We Were Born for Metal" basically was, how I feel about the metal community and how we band together. And it's one way that no matter where you're from, no matter what, race, gender, like, it's one thing that unites us all. And I felt, it was a great way to explore that, and I'm quite happy with that one as well. Of course, with Ralf on top of that, it's even more special to me. But and then finally there was, of course, the unfortunate but real, reflection of the horrors that have come about in the last years. And from COVID and all the deaths related to that, the war, like, in Europe. So there's so much shit going on. And so I also decided to write a song called "The Fallen," which is in essence for anyone who's ever lost anyone, which of course is, most people, almost everybody. So I wanted to also kind of reflect on that, and to offer that side to it as well. So yeah, but all in all, I feel that it's kind of a multi-theme. It's not exactly like a concept album where it's like, Pink Floyd The Wall style, where it's, this whole arc storyline. It's really more kind of one-off, but at the same time there's some themes that are a little bit more predominant.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
And do you have a planned release date for the album?
Yeah, so if all goes well, it should be by the end of the month, if we can do things. The thing too is that with Ralph's schedule being so insane, like, I have to I have to understand, like, to have to kind of keep that into consideration. And I feel that considering all he does, the fact that he's doing this for me as well is such a big deal. So we've been trying to get things polished and ready to go. And so if with the few that's left, I think it's safe to say that very, very soon, end of the month or beginning of the next month. And yeah, I'm pumped because it's been a long time in the making, but I think that the fans are gonna love it. So
Fabulous.
I hope so.
Awesome. And you have already released 4 singles from the album: "Cut Loose," "I'm Gone," "Lemmy," and "Gone to Hell." Great
Yeah,
songs, amazing musicianship, brilliant work
thank you.
inside each of these singles. Thank you so much for this amazing music. But
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
but do you have plans to come up with another single before the release of the album?
So they'll kind of coincide. So I'm gonna be doing the "We Were Born for Metal" video that I got some amazing artists working on now. They are finishing that up, and while we're finishing up the album, it's we're getting it all kind of ready for the release date. And then the day of the release, I'm hoping to release the video as well. And so there'll be the main single to show everybody, the "We Were Born for Metal" track, which I'm super excited about. And yeah, so it's kind of going to be the same deal, where it's going to be the release of the album at the same time as the fifth single. So yeah.
Fantastic. And any plans for the day of the release? Like, I mean, like, do you have some special plans on the day?
Oh, well, there's definitely going to be a party because we're pretty excited about that. And so, but it's really going to be mostly, family and friends and stuff. But there's it's been so long in the making that, well, technically only about a year. It's like some of the songwriting was beyond that, but it's still one of those things that when you put in so much time, when it finally comes to fruition and it's released, it's kind of a big deal. So it's a lot of fun to kind of celebrate that. And yeah, because a lot of times people don't realize quite how much work goes into even just one song. And so when you put a bunch together, it's a big project, right? So it's been a pretty big life-changing thing for me. So I'm excited for that, especially now on the international stage. So
Yes, amazing. And
yeah.
being a multi-instrumentalist, vocalist, how do you manage to go on a tour, or do you plan to hire more people into the band?
Yeah, so that's the plan for sure. Because the as a mostly a studio worker, like a studio musician, after the various bands that I was in, people went their own ways, and I feel that I wasn't quite ready to give up, and so, and not that they did, but they went on to other things, and life happens, right? So you have to kind of you got to go your own way sometimes, and so I decided to just kind of dive into doing my solo project as my full focus, and then things really just took off from there. And I feel that I'm excited to get a band back together and to try to do as much touring as possible. And I know now there's complications with travel and so on, but I don't care. I'm excited to get a band together and try to find some like-minded musicians that enjoy the material, of course, because that's so important. And yeah, and in a way, I've begun to look at people a little bit, and there's a few people in mind, and so I'm hoping that once the album's out, there'll be a little bit more infrastructure and support there, and then we can start building the live show, and then do it up all over the place. So
Sounds good. Sounds good. And have you ever played for some kind of gig earlier, or in...
oh yeah. Yeah, so I started performing. The first show I did, I was 9 years old, and my best friend Jay and I, we played at our school, and I was on drums then, and he was playing guitar. And somehow, I don't know how it happened. It was supposed to be just our two classes, but it ended up being like pretty much the whole school. So our first show was in front of hundreds of people, and it was so nerve-wracking, but at the same time it felt so comfortable in a bizarre sort of way. And that kind of gave us the itch for it. And then when we then went on to focus on our own music, and we started writing our own stuff, and then through that process we swapped, and I became the guitar player and the singer, and Jay became the drummer. And so our big shows were when we were like 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way to about 20. And we played all over Ottawa, Ontario, and basically all over Ontario, because we went, and then even up to Montreal and Quebec and beyond. And so we played as many places as we could, and it was really, really heavy, fun music to play. And our probably our biggest gig was is a benefit show, and it was for a local hospital, children's hospital. And so that was really awesome to be able to be a part of that. And we were pretty young. I think by then we're maybe 16 and 17 or so. And there was, at least maybe like 9-ish hundred people, maybe more. So it was such a huge gig and a huge hall, and it was packed, which was also a fun experience. But we were from out of town, so no one knew us, right? And so the show starts with like this whole empty gap right in front of the stage. Everybody's in the back doing their own thing. No one cares yet. And then we just kick in full force. And so all of a sudden, people's eyes go wide, and they, approach the stage. And we really got like addicted to the stage. And so when I started doing studio work, there was a lot of flexibility there. There was I learned a lot about guitar overdubbing and being able to do like harmony parts and stuff that I hadn't been able to explore live, because we were normally just three-piece, drums, bass, and guitar. And so there wasn't as much growth in terms of what we could do. And then when I started doing studio work, suddenly it was a whole different animal. And so I adore studio work and I adore the stage. So it's like I'm torn between the two as to which is my favorite. But I must say there's something unbelievable about what happens when you're performing in front of like a crowd and really getting into it. And it is very much addictive, where you just, and it's not about like, it's not for the wrong reasons, it's like it's really just the fun of suddenly being like just united with music and what that means for people, and seeing people just getting like just having a fucking blast. It's a very cool experience.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
Being having a close bond with Rolf and he working on this album along with you, do you think it will be a gateway for you to play along with Primal Fear or opening for Primal Fear in the future?
Oh man, that is like that's the dream. But at the same time, Ralph has already done so much for me that like I don't expect like anything beyond what he's already done, because it's already so huge and already so meaningful to me. But of course, I would never turn it down, because if I could open for Primal Fear again, it would be another check off the dream come true list. Um, and yeah, like if things really blow up, it would be amazing to have Ralf guest starring on stage as well for the We Were Born for Metal track, and beyond. But yeah, I think considering how insanely busy he is, of course I would understand like the obligations to Primal Fear, of course, which is the priority, of course. And now, of course, with Avantasia and the tours that he's done with them, like that's a whole other animal, and another huge opportunity, and just as he's killing it all over the world as he does. And so yeah, it would be definitely surreal and amazing.
Absolutely. Awesome, awesome. And I need to talk about the logo and the cover art of this album. You have the logo which has that power metal elements with this
Yeah.
working metal and all the stuff, and it has a science fiction kind of depiction on the album art. So would you like to tell me a bit about this?
Sure, yeah. So I am super fortunate to have Gilberto Melo of in Brazil, and who is absolutely phenomenal. He's an incredible artist, and he took my initial idea for the Immortalizer lettering, and because I had a very crude a very crude drawing of it, and I thought like, oh, it'd be cool if it looked like this and so on. And then when he finally came back with the end result, the logo as it is now, I was just so blown away. And of course, my sword skull didn't look anything near as good as that. So when he polished it up, and then like you said, he gave it a bit of a like contemporary sort of feel at the same time with his incredible like work with how he can draw digitally, right, on top of everything else. And so the mascot, if I can get his face in
Yeah.
focus, there he is. So I've named him Deimos as for the Greek god of not revenge, but fuck. See now, of course, I've had to forget that. It's but anyway, Deimos is named after one of the Greek gods of I believe it's, I can't believe I forgot that. I'm just spacing on it now. But I think it's just fury, basically. And so I thought it was well named for someone like him that's just just a beast, really. And it's kind of it's kind of a bit of an homage to Eddie as well of Maiden, of course. So, and of course I didn't want to like get too close to it, and Gilbert, like I said, did such an incredible work with it, and this pre-established work. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, that'd just be so amazing for Immortalizer. And he's done every cover since, and save one that I had to do quickly because I didn't have something ready for one of the single releases, and I had to do it for the I'm Gone one. I did that one quick. But yeah, well, he's done all the rest, and he's exceptional. And we have another one also in the works now, and so he's also done the second version of the logo, which of course the same idea, just with some corrections and a little bit of the steel wingspan. And it's actually based on a tattoo I have on my back that I got when I was a kid. I say kid, I was 17 maybe. And it was always my favorite of my tattoos, and it had a bit of like a weird kind of special forces look, but also just I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it was like the skull, blade, and wings. And so that's where the inspiration for the logo came from. And so when I did the without the wingspan, I thought like, oh, it's great, but it's missing the wingspan. So of course, when he did the second version, now we use both. But yeah, I must say, like, Joubert has been absolutely amazing, super nice guy, and yeah, just an incredibly gifted artist. So I'm very fortunate to be working with him.
Awesome, awesome. And talking about the release of the album, so how is the plan? Like, do you have plans to make it digitally, or there are plans to make it CDs, LPs, and what are the plans for that?
Yeah, so the basically so far it's going to with there's been some slight complications with the plans for the LPs and the CDs and such, but it's still very much in the works. So now basically what's going to happen is when the album gets released, it's going to be initially digital and iTunes and all the rest. And then after and as that happens as well, we're going to be doing the pre-sale for the LPs and the CDs that are going to be made.
Mhm.
The and possibly cassette. We'll see how things go. But it's definitely going on LP, and I think there's still very much a very high demand for CDs as well. If especially with the last EP that I've done, I think I sold more CDs than I did vinyl. And so it's nice to see that CDs are still alive. There's still a place for CDs, which I love. Um, and so yeah, the plan is basically just to do a pre-sale for everybody. And so I kind of figured that it's it's one of those things where with a pre-sale, normally it's like you still have to wait to hear everything. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do with each pre-sale will come the digital download, and so it'll basically be you'll get both. So if you want the LP, you're gonna get it in a little while, but you get the initial
Yes.
digital
Hmm.
album right off the bat, so you can still enjoy it until the pressing gets finished. And so yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Amazing, amazing. And Dave, what would be the biggest dream for you?
Oh man, some of them have already come true.
Yes.
Um, well, that that's a tough one. I think if I were to go, way beyond the stratosphere, it would be, Wacken open air with 100,000 people screaming, and I think that would be definitely up there of like biggest dreams come true. And of course, just like I said, getting to work with Ralf and having him featured on the album was literally a dream come true. So it's been such an incredible experience that it's often still surreal to me. you know and so I feel that if anything beyond that, like you said earlier, like anything like that, it expands from that would be absolutely amazing. And being able to tour with some of my heroes would be, another one that would just blow my mind. And so, you look at, Priest, Saxon, of course, Primal Fear, and all those guys. So anything anywhere near that would be, definitely check marks off the dream come true list.
Wonderful, wonderful. And would you like to share some of the greatest moments of your career?
Sure, yeah. So I'll go way back because I guess technically, like, as a kid it started even back then. But yeah, that first show at our school, at our little local school, that was a mind-blowing experience into it. And like I said, the benefit show again was a big moment for us. And I think the I guess the creation of Immortalizer was a big moment as well, because it came from turmoil a little bit, because it was a little bit difficult for me to detach from the live bands and the live shows that we were doing, and just the bands that I had formed and been part of. Um and when everybody went kind of different ways, it was a bit difficult at first, and then I was still really, and in a way it motivated me to just focus on my solo career, which then, of course, blew up after 26 years of effort. So it's definitely been a lifelong, ambition, and so I feel that just the evolution of that, and having um my uncle and a lot of my family in Montreal, like and beyond, like they have been so amazing and so supportive as well. And my uncle being a professional drummer in the 80s and 90s, I was always a big, huge inspiration. And so one of the moments that has stuck out was his praise in later years when I finally got everything all polished up, and to have his, to impress him was a big deal for me. And of course, some of the other huge moments were getting on Canadian radio, American radio, pretty much a bit all over the world, really. So in Brazil, Germany, like a little Greece, so it's literally Japan, everywhere. So that was huge. Every time I heard about a new place that would, was playing the singles, like it literally, again, dream come true from childhood, of like just dreaming of one day being on the radio, and then all of a sudden it was happening. And yeah, if I'd say the single most memorable though would definitely be like getting to know Ralf and becoming pals, and getting to work with one of my heroes. Like that has been such an indescribably amazing thing, so I would say that's definitely the top. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And debut album is something which is very special to any bands. Like if you take
Yes.
long history of bands, debut album has become the most successful album for most of the bands. Say for example, Metallica's Kill 'Em All, still the best
Yeah.
album to be honest. And how do you feel about this outcome of your debut album?
Yeah, that's a good point. You look at, Appetite for Destruction and all the other, like the other, opener albums that really cemented the bands. Um I definitely feel that it it is very much the like my best work so far in my entire career. And again, I feel that trying to push those limits has really brought out the best of what I can do. And I'm extremely satisfied with it. I think that people are going to respond really well to it. Again, hope. And it's one of those things where the songs like just constantly get stuck in people's heads. And as I've of course, as I've shown people, the friends, mostly like the final masters of certain things, like where they're just flipping out, their jaws are dropping, and it's the response so far has been so amazing that I'm pretty satisfied that this is going to be, the first step. But amazingly, in the process, I've also begun recording the second album, and there's some songs on there that I can't wait to show everybody. So I think my hope anyway is to be able to maintain that. And like you said, it's really, really hard to top that first album, because it is so, it becomes your sound and your distinct sort of, avenue where you follow. But if the songs that I'm working on now and recording now are any indication, like there's no stopping the momentum, and I absolutely love that, where the creativity is really flowing. I'm writing tons and tons of songs, and I feel that every time I'm pushing that limit just a little bit further, a little bit further. And so yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to even technically, there's songs that could bleed over to the third album and a little bit beyond. So I'm looking forward to that trilogy, those first three albums. But of course, the debut now is the big opener. So
Yes. And how do you look into the future of Immortalizer?
well, I think that the main thing will be to, once I get the live band together, we can start doing, more in terms of shows and all the rest of that. I feel that it's going to start to grow out beyond just the solo project and the recording artist style feel, which I'm very excited about. And I miss the stage big time, and so I miss performing, and so I'm very excited to get back into that. And there's been some very like various challenges along the way, and it's been a tough, hard road getting here. But it just shows that, like, after 26 years, if you just keep hammering away and you keep working at it and you keep loving what you do, the possibilities are endless, and you can even go beyond what you expect. And I think that's my biggest hope for the future, is just to keep growing to that extent, and to keep, you know, connecting with people, and having something meaningful for them to listen to and to enjoy, and to grow as big as we can, you know.
And finally, what would be the message that you want to give to your fans around the world?
Yes. So first and foremost, an unbelievable thank you for the incredible support and the amount of, you know, just the sheer, you know, fire behind it all. It's such an amazing response, and again, fans from all over the world, as you said, like have responded so positively to the singles, and so I'm extremely excited to be able to show them the entire album. And in terms of messages, nowadays, you know, there's so many, but I think the main thing would be, you know, to never give up, like to never stop doing what you love to do. And, you know, fuck the obstacles, like they're going to come and go. Like you can get hit in the face and knocked down over and over again, but if you keep getting back up, there's always something to be said about that bounce back, right? And that's where the magic happens, when you refuse to stay down, you know. So yeah, that's probably what I would say right now. Yeah.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
Dave, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this wonderful opportunity to have you on this interview. A great pleasure to talk to you and to talk about the upcoming album Bond for Metal. Great work again. And thank you so much for all that you do for the metal fraternity around the globe. Thank you so much for everything and the beautiful music. And hope to see you on the road real soon, along with all those
Well,
great bands. Thank you.
thank you so very much. I really appreciate all that. It's super kind of you. And yeah, I hope to be able to do it up and to get it out there soon. And so yeah, thank you again so much for having me on the show. And
Pleasure,
yeah,
Dave.
I'm looking forward to that album release very soon.
Awesome, Dave. Thank you. And have a wonderful day ahead, Dave. Thank you. Take care.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Okay. Stay mental. Bye bye.
You bet. Cheers.
Cheers.